go and hope that it all goes. StreamYard lost access to your guest's LinkedIn account.
Which LinkedIn account? Does it say which guest?
No, it's got an M. But
That's
both
probably
of you
mine then. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah.
ready to go. Okay, I'm gonna have to. It's the heartbeat one.
Okay. Let's see.
But that was
here.
the one to 5 guests, right? So
yeah, that's okay.
It's giving me the option to remove it.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Let's remove it for now. That's okay. I'm not too worried. Folks will find their way around to us.
Okay.
We got it on the YouTube as well too. Yeah, it's fine.
You know, I hear we have somebody who's kind of a big deal hosting us, so you know.
I think we're actually live now. I can't tell because it doesn't actually say. It just says end stream. So we're muddling through.
We are. I'm seeing the live counter in the top corner though, so we are 54 seconds live. So this is good, guys.
Well, this is a great intro then. Right. So for those of you that don't know, I'm Leah Turner, and I am really super excited to be here with Mataza and Mike from the Heartbeat, which is the app, the platform that I run my membership community, the Halt, on. And Laura is here with me. Laura is the lady behind all of the tech, and also Alex, but Alex isn't here, and Laura won. Laura won the straw draw. Laura runs all the tech behind the Halt for me and is a huge advocate for Heartbeat. And I basically campaigned on one of Heartbeat's live streams and was like, will you go live with me? Because I'd really love to talk to you about what went on to start Heartbeat and what makes Heartbeat different, and also what it is about communities that are so popular right now and what are the ones that are successful doing right. Because how many communities are running on Heartbeat now?
Over 7,000 at this point. We've got quite a few.
Which is wild. And you've got some really enormous ones, right? Because you can do free, you can do paid. We've got a paid community on there, and we moved over to Heartbeat, I want to say 2 years, just under 2 years ago now, or it's bang on about 2 years ago. And it has made everything for the Halt better. So Mataza, you started all of this, and I would love to know what inspired you, or what was it that made you want to do this?
I mean, the real answer is like a slight touch of delusion. But I would say like brought us here. Yeah, confidence. There we go. No, what brought us here is, so I was head of community at one of the largest startup accelerators in the world, which is a very nice, like glamorous and glitzy title. And the day job was anything but that. Being head of community, my whole job here was trying to figure out all of these folks that we were trying to help them build companies. How do we get them to build relationships and build connections and you know, introduce each other back and forth and share the knowledge? And this was right when COVID hit. And so this was a fully in-person organization that had just shifted digital. And then it was my job figuring out, how do we build all these relationships? How do we build all these connections? And so we were using, you know, 8 different tools stitched in Zapier together. I remember we had like a Slack living with all of our conversations. We had a Notion with all of our content. We had an Airtable, like 2 different Airtable links people could go to, one for like the mentor introductions, one for like investor introductions, and then the events were these random Zoom links that would go out there. And this was me trying to hold everything together with both hands and try and make this like digital platform work. And I remember like I was writing code and writing scripts to try and make everything work together. And I was spending like 20, 30 hours of my week just dealing with the tech. And then on top of that, actually doing my day job of trying to figure out how do we build relationships across this like enormous swath of over 1,000 portfolio companies. And so seeing all of that, I was like, wow, we could do this much better. And you know, I've mentioned this to Mike before, but like I come from a sales background where one of the companies I'd worked with, Pure Storage, several years back, had I think it was the second most customized Salesforce installation in the entire country. Like they had literally anything you wanted. You would press a button and 17 different things would happen, and it was amazing. It felt like you were driving a Ferrari. And as I was doing that, I was like, where's my Ferrari for community building? Like, why don't I get to do that here when I'm connecting people and bringing people together and building out these larger networks and these larger groups? And so that was kind of the initial seed, is like, hey, let's go build a Ferrari for people that spend all their time and energy trying to think about how to bring people together.
I love that, because COVID was such an accelerant time for building things like that. I remember what was the app, the chat app that everybody did, the audio chat
Clubhouse.
What's it called?
Clubhouse, right?
Yeah, because that got absolutely huge, didn't it? Because we all had a sudden need for human interaction and we weren't allowed to go anywhere. And like LinkedIn suddenly had a huge surge in users because everybody was moving online to network. That was where my LinkedIn training business exploded, because people wanted to network. They needed to network for their businesses and they couldn't network in person. So they were all turning to the next best thing. So there were so many innovations that came from that need. But what I notice is that you do a lot of things very differently and incredibly simply with Heartbeat. And that was the thing that attracted me the most, because as we found out at the beginning of this, when we were getting all this set up, I'm not a very techie person. Laura basically catches all of my mistakes and sometimes doesn't and has to fix my mistakes. But what was it like? Was it because of your experience running communities, you just wanted to make something that was super, super friendly to people that weren't techie? Or have you just got, I don't know if you're neurodivergent, but you create things in such a simple way and straightforward that I feel like anybody could master Heartbeat?
No, I appreciate that. And what I'll say is that has been done with a lot of time and energy and effort by design. Like, I don't think we are naturally simple people. I think like Mike can attest to this, in that like when we're trying to like get ideas out of each other's heads, like that's a whole long string of we're gonna go here to here to here to here to here, and then finally we'll get to the end. And I think with Heartbeat, we spent a lot of time figuring out how do we make this as simple and approachable as possible. And it was for a couple of reasons. The first one was, if you think about who we serve, these are often people that are kind of exactly like you said, right? Like they are incredible salespeople, incredible marketers. And what they're going out to do is go build a business from scratch. It is a wildly courageous thing to go do that. And so you have 89 different competing priorities at any point in time. There's always this ping and that ping that's pulling your attention. And so for us, it's trying to figure out, like, how do we make this not an extra thing that you have to stress about? How do we make it the thing where you click these 2-3 buttons, you're good to go, you're happy, you've got everything set up, and you're ready to roll. And so I think it was really, really leaning into who our customers are and how do we serve them as effectively as possible without adding this like extra stress to their day.
Yeah. So in terms of communities that you see at the moment, I'm going to come and ask Laura and Mike about this as well. Like, so my community has over 500 members. We're not using your waiting list feature yet because we've already got an email waiting list and we haven't got around to changing it. But I've seen so much change over the last 2 years in terms of the features that you're providing. And I really I've almost taken inspiration from how you guys run Heartbeat, in the fact that it's based on user feedback and you're tailoring things based on the people that are using them, saying we need this. And I see the feedback that comes. I see the upvoting that people can do for new features. And I love how you have the monthly town halls, that you're getting live feedback from people and being really transparent about your roadmap. What was it that made you brave enough to do that? And that can be you or Mike. Like, I feel like that's brave, but I actually also do that because I've seen you doing it and it working so well.
Yeah, Mike, I don't know if you want to. Yeah, go ahead and jump in. I guess the quick thing that I'll say from the product side, and then Mike, I'd love to hear your take from the growth side of the business. Sure. The honest answer from the product side is when you're going and you're sitting in front of a screen, like, you know, a terminal, or you're actually like writing code. It's just as paralyzing of like, what do we build? You know, like what do we put out there that people are actually going to use, that they're going to be happy with? And so the funny thing on our end is it's just a beeline towards like, let's stop wasting our time with all of these other like a million and beautiful things that we could be making, the bells and whistles. And then let's just focus on the things people actually need. And so I think the town hall started as a way for us to just get thoughtful and meaningful feedback. And it came from the fact that we'd built a business before, Mehul and I, my co-founder, where we went in the wrong direction. Like we didn't build the things that we should have. And, you know, hindsight's 2020, but we've kind of recognized, like looking back, that like, yeah, we should have just taken a less windy path and taken a much more direct path and built the things people told us to build. And so I think from the product perspective, it's actually really nice and it simplifies what we need to go out and do. And I will say that it's also changed the nature of the product. Like early on, we thought our job was, let's just build a really great community space. Let's build a space where people can chat back and forth, connect, have conversations. And if we do that well, and we sell that to people, we'll build a great business and, you know, we'll be able to grow and scale it. And I think what we've realized, especially over the last 2 years, is we've got to do more than that. Like our job is not to just help you build a community. Our job is to actually help you build a lasting and growing business. And so when I kind of look out at the world, like what I'm seeing is that community builders are essentially like the entire next generation, this next wave of entrepreneurs that are coming. Like if we think about what's happened in the SMB land, like it is people, 10, 15 years ago started off like building online stores and e-commerce stores. And that's when like your first Etsy stores and Shopify shops got started. Mm-hmm. But today in 2025, people aren't trying to launch their Etsy stores and Shopify shops. They're taking all of the skills and knowledge and expertise that they have and trying to figure out how do we package that and how do we sell that in a way that is scalable, but also does justice to our customers and actually gives them the things that they're coming out here looking for. And how do we do that at scale? And community is just a beautifully elegant solution that helps you go out and do that really effectively. So when I think about what we've shifted to now it's really being the next version of Shopify for this like huge wave of entrepreneurs that's coming. So at least on the product side, like I think the town halls created so much that allowed us to do that. Mike, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit on the growth side too, because like that's where you really dig in.
Yeah, no, totally. First of all, it's a privilege being a marketer working on the foundation of a company that is so indexed on actually building a useful thing. Mm. So in my career, you don't always, as a marketer, you don't always get that choice. Sometimes you're tasked to grow this by making more revenue happen. And a lot of the times, it's about positioning and storytelling and all of the things that we know work. But fundamentally, if the thing that you're trying to offer to people is not substantively useful and functional and transformative, it's an uphill battle. And no amount of marketing budget will create a sustainable business if the offer itself is flawed. And I think from what it comes to creating Heartbeat's success is about translating that reality to the individual entrepreneurs that we are helping through the platform as well. If you have been selling your time for money, either as an in-house employee or as a consultant, you've got in you the value that you can productize into something else. And that could be a one-to-many access through subscription and membership. That could be a bundle of courses or resources. It could be a variety of things. And recognizing that, we said we need to create an infrastructure that lets you go to market elegantly so that you aren't stuck like the poor, sad marketer who has to market a product that doesn't actually help anybody. Because fundamentally, the reason why businesses fail for individuals are tied to really product market fit, or I would say at the solopreneur language would be an offer audience fit. If the thing you've made is not packaged, priced, promoted, or otherwise placed in some way correctly so that your audience will engage with it, it's not you that's flawed. It's not your value or your idea or your vision. It's just we haven't yet iterated our way to getting you the right offer on the shelf that is irresistible. And I think the flexibility in what Heartbeat allows people to do is first and foremost about bridging that gap as an empowerment step. I believe most people have the value in them to create a product that they can go to market with, and they are not manipulating or spinning or any way overselling that value. They just need to be able to have this packaged and then have it purchasable and deliverable in a way that creates an undeniable, understanding of that value between them and their audience and their customers. So that's the, while I don't spend so much time building the product, I am far from the terminal coder. What I do with all of the automations that I create on marketing side or the educational content that we create on the marketing side is to create that, for lack of a better term, that economic empowerment so that the solopreneurs can go about and bring their value to market. And I just was looking at the dashboard actually over here, more than 70% of people on Heartbeat are a solo manager of their community or have one assistant. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about folks who are just like doing this thing. And that's the most courageous thing you can do nowadays, is try to start a business and then confront that failure success roller coaster consistently as you kind of find your way forward.
Yeah, I mean, I did it on my own to start with. It was me and Laura as backup to get me set up. And then it was like, right, Laura needs to come on and actually manage all the hiccups in the tech, because with over 500 people in there, I definitely underestimated how many people their card would fail. They'd lose their debit card and cancel it and not update it. Or they've entered the wrong email address and then they're wondering why they haven't got all the emails, or they've entered the wrong the email address they no longer have access to. And you think,
a lot of user errors, isn't there?
There is a lot of user errors, and I can't judge because I do the exact same thing in other situations. But it's as the person running it, when you're suddenly being pulled back to emails to fix little things, you're like, no, I like that's 30 distractions a day. I actually need to focus on doing. So bringing Laura in was an absolute godsend at that point, because that freed up my time. But one of the things you were saying, Mike, is about the product fit is creating something that people need. I see so many people at the moment, because they come to me and they talk to me about it and say, I really want to start a community. And it's like the digital course of 2025. Like, everybody wants a community now. What is it that I know personally, like what I speak to people about and say, have you actually thought about if this is needed? Are there actually people that will benefit from this? Are they going to have the time to engage? Is there motivation for them to actually spend time in the community, being a community? Or is this just actually a membership where they get something? Because I always define the difference between like a membership and a community as a community leader, my job is to help people to nurture relationships with one another, not just they will have a relationship with me and I'm providing them with something. And that's something that I will hold my hands up. We do it really well in the whole. That is something that I spend a lot of energy on. And so does my community manager. And having Laura and Alex on the team enables us to have the time to do that. But what is it that you see? Certainly is a huge trend. But where are people going wrong? Like, what's the big hiccup when it comes to creating something? Because I've been in the Hearth. I've seen some really random, diverse communities that have been started. I think I saw one on like knitting patterns, and they've created a whole knitting community, and something on guitar lessons, and there's some really amazingly niche ones in there. Ours is obviously for small business owners. I know I guess USP is we've got so many different business owners in there, so you can hire from within. Any service that you need is in there, and you can also get clients in there, so there's a point to actually networking and building relationships in there. Whereas I see ones where maybe they're all accountants, and it's like, I'm there to learn, but networking isn't really a priority because I'm probably not going to get work from these people. So it becomes very disengaged. So what do you see are the steps before you create a community to make sure you're creating something that people actually want? And I would ask the same from you, Laura, as well, because you're like the behind the scenes and you see the ones that are working for you, for the people that you work with.
Laura hasn't had a turn yet. I'd be happy to let her go first, and I could take a follow on.
I actually think there's a big difference, because I obviously have my own membership inside Heartbeat as well. And I actually make it super clear on my sales page, this is not a community, because I don't want it to be a community. I don't have the time to have a community, because that, like you said, it takes nurturing, and I'd have to people. If I was joining a community, I would expect someone to be like there with me and making it nurtured and building that relationship, that networking. For me, it's not a community. I'm here to teach you stuff. There's courses. We've got weekly tech sessions in here for people, and that's what it is. And I think people have to be clear. Are you a community, or like you said, are you there to provide courses and learning, and be super, super clear what you're having? And then I'd say that most of the ones that I see fail are people who think it's going to be easy. And they think, I'm going to just go and create a community and I'm going to be rich, because people are going to pay me this monthly fee and I'm going to be super, super duper rich. And it's not. That you've got to have an audience. And a lot of people will come to me and they've got an email list of 100 people, and they think they're going to have 100 members of these 100 people on their email list. And it's like, no, you've got to do the hard work first. Nurture, do that, build that audience building first. Actually connect with your audience, and then go in and then test it. Do they actually want that community? Test it out. Do they want that first, and then go out?
You don't have to have an online audience either. It can be an in-person audience, right? Or it can be a network of real life people, because these people that are teaching like various crafting skills or musical skills or things like that's not necessarily people who have an online audience somewhere, but they can grow it through word of mouth, through various, I don't know, lessons and choirs and bands that people are in, and it can spread. But it's the growth is the hardest thing. Alex, who does my email marketing, said the average is like a 10% conversion when you launch a community from a waiting list. So if you've got 100 people on a waiting list, you will be lucky to get 10 people to actually buy in. So you shouldn't even be thinking about launching a community until you've got well over 10 times the minimum number of members that you want on a waiting list.
Definitely. And expect that people will leave, because people get upset. It's like the amount of times I will set up a membership for someone or a community, and then a month later will come up, oh, five people left. It's like, you do have a churn rate. People leave. Yeah. That's what happens. You know, you have to keep at it, and that's why it's not easy. You do have to keep at it. You got to keep at that. And I think what you mentioned about the wait list is if you know, like if you're testing if it's going to work, actually create a wait list and see how many people join it. And if you're putting social media posts out and nobody's joining this wait list, then maybe it's not what someone wants. Or it might be someone wants it, you just need to tweak messaging. And
it might be that, or it might be just that there's something that's similar from someone with a bigger audience, and so there's going to be, and that the thing is, if you've got a bigger audience, you can probably charge less because you're going to have more people. So it becomes a bit of a vicious circle. What do you think is the sort of key stages that you have to go through, Mike, before actually taking that step and launching a community to make sure it's going to work?
There's just without going too academic, like there's 4 P's in marketing again. So to try to set the stage, there's the product, which is what's in the thing that you're selling, the placement, where are you promoting it, how are you structuring the value, the price of the offer, what people pay for it, and then your promotion schedule, which is how you're spreading the word and what is the positioning and the storytelling. A lot of people think marketing is just promotion. Like, we tend to just kind of simplify it down to that. So to have a community succeed, the prerequisites first are, how are you going to create a product that solves a problem? Because a product has to solve a problem. If you don't intimately understand a problem first, and like, that's the real foundational question. And so the 2 ways to go about it is either you yourself are experiencing a problem, or somebody you are exposed to, or through networking, you have identified a problem. You are qualified objectively. Now, objectively could be like you have a couple of years more experience than the people you're helping. That's about it, like 2 years more experience to help solve that problem. And or you build an audience around a shared either commisery or a shared vibe, and then you reach out to the audience and you ask them about their problems, and through the engagement with that audience, as you're building it, you can identify and diagnose a problem, right? Think about it diagnostically. You have to be able to find something wrong for somebody to even begin to want to approach solving it. But then you still have work to do, because most people who have a problem are only symptom aware. They're only aware of the fact that I feel numbness in my arm. They don't know they're having a heart attack. They think, I have this. This is annoying. Can we get the numbness to go away? Right? Meanwhile, you're like, you're dying. We need to do something about this. But they don't know that yet at that moment. They don't have that moment. And your audience will be like that. So early on in audience building, it's not just get a list at all costs, especially even if they're unengaged leads that you got off of stuff. You want to assemble a meaningful list so that conversion rate is 10%, or ideally maybe a little bit more, because you have a relevant audience collected around the fact that you are an authority that can diagnose the problem. And then through your marketing, you want to connect the fact that they now know they have this problem to what is the opportunity cost of ignoring that problem. Because as solopreneurs, we're not actually competing against each other. Like, if somebody made a Holt adjacent community tomorrow, they'd probably have some people sign up for it without stealing any of Leah's customers at all. We're competing against the status quo. And the status quo is that most people would rather just deal with a numb arm than face the devil they don't know and make change. So fundamentally, that's the marketing of audience building and what you need to do. And of course, that again presumes that you have a solution that actually is a solution, not some empty shell of a promise that doesn't deliver transformation. And then as far as like,
the biggest enemy, isn't it, of communities is when someone actually joins a community, if you disappoint them because you've not delivered on the amazing marketing that you put out there, you have somebody that comes in and goes, oh, well, there's nothing going on. No one's talking, no one's posting, no one's engaging. Why am I going to stay here? I don't see the value of it. And I always say I prefer to like slightly undersell it and wow people when they come in, because then they're going to stay longer, and then they start telling all their friends going, oh my God, I didn't have any clue there was so much in here.
And the sad thing is, like, one happy customer will tell 3 of their friends. An angry customer will tell like 3,000 strangers.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's
Yeah.
the risk of under delivering. So I think you're really doing your community justice, and I'm not surprised to see how well you are doing.
Have you heard about our referral program? I don't know if we've ever talked about it.
No, not directly. I don't think so.
Metaza, you're probably going to think I'm completely unhinged, but I am, so it's fine. We decided we do a launch every month for 25 people. So we've got a waiting list of thousands, but we only let 25 in a month because we don't want to ruin the experience for the people that are there by flooding millions in. But we also let members bring in their own friends by recommendation. So kind of like a Soho House vibes. You tell a friend, if you verify the friend's not a knob, we allow, and we literally, they have to tick a box to verify they are not a knob to be allowed in. But we have a fake security guard called Backdoor Barry, and you have to fill in a form as to why this person's going to be a great addition to the Holt. And then when they get 5 referrals, like successful referrals through, they get like a reward for it. And we've got like little stars in Heartbeat, like labels saying they've got Barry's referral 1 star, 2 stars, and then they get the reward at 5. But I don't know not everyone's going to watch this back, but we're having a Christmas party for the community members at Christmas. And I may have hired an actor that looks like our AI Backdoor Barry for the event.
I am so enthused that you've leaned that hard into the vibe.
Yeah, that's genius. There was nothing unhinged about that. Yeah.
No,
that's so excited. Yeah.
There's a point. If you don't lean in enough, it's crazy. But if you fully commit,
I'm committed to the crazy.
No,
but it works well because it's quite, it's quite whimsical. Metaza, what is it that you see as like the most important thing as somebody who's leading a community? Because you are one of the leaders of the company. You're leading a small but incredibly busy team running all of this that's going on, growing so fast. I can't even imagine how busy you must be. And all of you must be. You all seem to be absolute grafters at startup life, right? But what is it that you see in the community leaders that people should be looking to replicate if they're going to? Because I think a few of the comments have said, like, one of the myths that people have is that building a community is easy. It's just an easy extra passive income. It's not. It's like the furthest from that. You have to work so hard because of the churn rate, because you keep needing to do launches, or you need to keep getting new members in to compensate for the churn rate and continue the growth. You need to be providing material. So you're recording material, you're making sure you're engaging with the community, you're dealing with the tech problems. It's not just a side hustle. I mean, it can be a side hustle. It was mine, with the intention of going full time. So what is it that you see in the community members, community hosts that you engage with and that you see the most from in the Hub? What characteristics have they got? Do they really bring to the table that make it work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you guys mentioned the point about fully committing, and I think that's huge, but I think candidly, like, that's table stakes. If you want to build a business, like, you're going to have to fully commit to it. And I think there is no easy paths to building a successful business. Like, you're not just going to like pop something online and make a ton of money and have that be a money printer for the rest of your life. What I find that the best community builders do consistently, and they do it really well, is they bring their whole selves to the role. And when they show up, when they go onto like lives, onto events, they are so genuine and so human and so honest and raw in front of their folks that it's just endearing. Like, it's hard to not pay attention. It's hard to not get excited about what they're doing. And so I think that's probably one of the biggest things is if you're going to, be on stage, you really need to be on stage. And you need to get comfortable with the fact that, like, you are in a glass house and that's just sort of how you're going to live. But I think the exciting part about that is, there's so many of these things that we feel worried about, that we feel a little bit of shame about, like, and it's usually things like, I don't know enough about X. I don't know enough about Y. Like, I don't know if I'm perfect at these, 12 different things. And I think when you join a community and when you when you build a community, and you commit to that, I think it becomes a lot more okay to do that publicly. Like, one of the funny things that you guys mentioned earlier was, you want to undersell the marketing a little bit. So then when people come in, they have an amazing experience. The funny thing is, before we brought on Mike, we were pretty bad at marketing. And we would joke around that we were really great at building the features and so bad at telling people we built the features that they asked for. And so we would undersell in the marketing purely as a factor of we had no idea how to market. And so it was like, we would do that and we bring people in and we talk about this in our town halls of like, guys, we don't really understand this distribution thing. But here's all the features that we built for you and it's working really well. And here you go. And people get so excited about that. And I think, again, that raw honesty and that transparency like really leaned into the ethos. And I'm not saying that you have to be, like me and say like, hey, these are the 80, things that we're bad at. And here's the 2-3 things that we're really good at. But I think you have to figure out like, what are the essences of your personality that you're really going to lean into that are the most you and the most honest. And I think you have to bring them to the forefront, and then you have to build the pieces of the community around that. So there's things that we've talked about of like, hey, let's build this in the hearth, our customer community of 4,000 builders. There's things that we've talked about and said, hey, maybe we should put it in there. And then the reason why it'll get vetoed is because like me or someone else on the Heartbeat team is like, on paper, this sounds really cool, but I would never attend this. Like, I would never get value out of this. This is not something that would actually move the needle for me. And so like, it doesn't matter how cool these things sound on paper. They are not honest to who we are as a team and the way that we operate and the way that we think about building. And so I think those things like really lean into your larger mission. But I would say like, that's probably at the top. And there's like 20 other, skills that you need to get really good at to get growing and building out the business. But if you don't figure out that personality and that humanity piece, it doesn't matter how good you get at the other 20 things. Like it's going to be really hard to grow this thing.
I think that's definitely something that's really come through for me over the last 3 years of running the Halt is, I bring my mum energy. So I've got a 10-year-old son, and I actually find that I bring my full mum energy to my members, and I want to nurture them. I want to look after them. I want to protect them. And I want to make sure that no one comes into the community that's going to upset the culture that we've painstakingly built. And I always find that when I lean into the things that I'm good at, which is creativity, authenticity, honesty, I'm good at the marketing. I'm good at talking about things. And I'm really good at engaging with people and being warm and friendly and making them feel welcome. And like you, with the simplicity of things, we always get told how great our onboarding is. People are like, oh my God, that was so good. That onboarding was amazing. We've got videos that pop up and explain everything to people. But the things that I'm not good at are I'll just say to Laura, right, I've got an idea and I want to do this and I want it to do this. And I kind of think it needs to then do this, but I don't know how to make that happen. And we find the more honest that I am, the more my community members step up and fill the gaps that are there for me. And they'll give honest feedback and they'll help guide me to make it better because it makes it better for everybody else. And I think that's one of the things that when you've got a real community, people want, when I say like a real community, as in people are there to help each other and build relationships with one another. They want to see you win because they want the best version of the community for themselves as well, not in a selfish way, but if it's improved for one person, it's improved for everyone. One of the things I would say that is key as a community leader as well is not taking things personally, because people are going to leave and it's not because they hate you. Well, it might be, but generally speaking, it's not your fault. It will be they don't have the budget, they don't have the time to use it. It wasn't really the right fit for them. And if you take it personally all the time, you're not going to get very far. Your self-esteem is going to take a real hit. And also you can't please everyone and you can't try to please everybody. You can try and please the majority. We were doing masterclasses like later in the evenings to try and suit our handful of North American members. And it was exhausting me and we weren't getting good attendance because we're predominantly UK and Europe. And so we stopped doing that. And I was like, oh, I feel bad because we have got American members, but they watch the replays or they get up early and they still make the effort if they want to. They still get value. So those would be my two that I would add as a community leader is like, you've got to toughen up a little bit and not take things personally because it's going to hurt too much otherwise. Mike, I just want to make sure I don't know if we've got any, like we've had a lot of comments and I can't keep on top of them without losing track of the conversation.
I'm thrilled with that.
What do you see? And I'd love to talk to Laura about this as well, because Mataza, you weren't here when we were saying this earlier, but someone in our community was saying what they were planning on launching some sort of a community themselves. And they were asking which the best app was to use. And he or she was leaning towards school. And Laura, I tagged Laura and I said, well, Laura set up communities on all sorts of different ones. She'll give you an honest opinion. And her honest opinion was that Heartbeat was the best. She said, you know, school is great, but it's not got as many of the community engagement features, not as many features to make having it as a community as good compared to Heartbeat. Circle, I personally have been on Circle communities for other communities and gone. It felt like going into Discord for me. I was totally overwhelmed. There was too much going on. Whereas Heartbeat is, and I think I said this to you, Mike, didn't I? Heartbeat feels like the Apple to Circle's Android for me, as a person that's very visual, likes things clear and simple, nice and easy laid out. But
as a marketer, I'm sorry, you made my heart skip a beat there being compared to Apple. I'm totally okay with that. Sorry, carry on.
But Apple's the simple, user-friendly that anyone can use, right? Like that's the whole point of it is, you know, I say my nan could use it. My nan struggles to use it.
I quite like that comparison.
Do you agree?
I have to say, actually, at first I didn't get where you're going with the comparison, but then now actually I probably do get that Android, because it has so many features and stuff. It can get overwhelming and being a bit like, oh my God, where do I go? Whereas Apple, it's like, it's this way, so just get on with it, isn't it? So it's pretty straightforward and streamlined.
But it still has everything that you need.
Yeah.
And it's also simple to access and use and visually appealing and simply laid out. And it's very intuitive. It would have to be intuitive. Otherwise, I would struggle with the tech on Heartbeat. Like completely struggle with the tech.
I can confirm I've never seen Leah do so much tech on her own. Like she will literally come into the chat and it's like this big moment and she'll be like, I've just done this. And me and Alex, who my business partner, will sit there going, oh my God, Leah's just done tech and not actually had to ask for help. And it's because Heartbeat is so easy for her to get along with.
I'll send an SOS in WhatsApp going, oh my God, I need this. Can you help me with this? And then it'll be 5 seconds later before they've even messaged. Never mind, I've done it.
And that, honestly, and that is so fantastic, because like we have just tried so hard that like we want the least number of barriers between the awesomeness in a human being and going to market with that awesomeness. And anything that's in between that, the mission is lower that barrier as low as possible. And
I don't know if that's in your marketing enough, is that the Heartbeat for me is the community building platform for people who are not techie people. Like this is something that you can learn very simply by playing around with it and having an explore and just figuring it out. Sometimes asking ChatGPT for help if Laura's not available. But you can do that yourself. If I can figure it out how to do this, me who struggles to set up my son's Xbox and had to get somebody to come and help me, like I'm that bad with it. I get stressed if I have to put in a password on a controller. Like
Laura, you're going to be thrilled with the new assistant in the in-app assistant we're building, because it might.
I've been looking,
from a few free questions. It might free you up from a few questions from Leah. Leah, did you see the new?
I have not yet. Now I'm excited.
Oh, you need to. All right, my latest newsletter I sent out, or if you were at the last town hall, to catch the replay in the Hearth. One of our goals is to be able to help people reduce that barrier, and so we are going to be launching in beta a AI collaborator called Pulse inside of Heartbeat. And what this means is that you can now talk to the platform, explain what you want, and it will, with a button click, build the thing that you described.
So like the Zapier, you can just say to Zapier what you want, and then it creates the automation for you.
It's like having a little helper on this corner that's like a little mini Laura. It's not 100% Laura, because Laura's awesome, but like most of the way Laura.
I was going to say Laura's going to start panicking now.
And then on this shoulder you've got yeah. It's meant to have experts basically at your beck and call to help build something inside the platform. So again, more helpful to the people like you, Amelia, who are not like tech natively.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love it. So what's the big goal for Heartbeat in terms of what's I going to say? No, we didn't answer the last question yet. We deviated.
Sorry.
I was asking Laura, like, what do you find, because you've been completely honest about it, like why would you encourage people to use Heartbeat if they were starting a community over the other ones? Or what are the perks of the other ones? How do you choose the right one to use?
I say like at least probably 5 communities up a month at least. And some people take me advice and they don't, and I've got affiliate links to every public community going. So like it's not a plus to me to recommend a certain one. And it is often, school will never be a recommendation just because it is way too limited. There's just not enough in there. And one client didn't listen to me, and they did go to school, regretted the decision, and ended up back in a Facebook group for their community. And now it's too much hassle to move their courses out of school. So their courses are stuck in school, their community is back in a Facebook group, and they've just ruined a load of time. And it's like a whole mess. And then like Heartbeat, it's just so much simpler. And I would say Heartbeat and Circle, when you're comparing, they're very similar. Heartbeat and Circle, in all honesty, they're feature-wise, they're quite similar. But Heartbeat's UI is like so much simpler to use, so much easier to just jump in and do it. And I always say to my clients that for me, it depends on the look you want. Because if you do need that very corporative look and you want that corporate style, and you need that, then probably go off to Circle. But if you actually want that very community open vibe and you need that simplicity, then go over to Heartbeat, I'll tell them, more than likely. And most people, 99% of the time, go over to Heartbeat and love it. And for me, which is always a big thing with tech, is the support, because the amount of time I talk to support teams, and it is like talking to a robot, and I just want to go into their office and be their support team because, no offense, I'm generally better than them. I want to murder them. Heartbeat support team have been amazing. Like literally, I did a setup last month, and I felt really sorry for one of your staff members because we was doing a migration from Stripe, and it was horrible. And it was nothing wrong with your guys' problems. It was Stripe. Stripe kept giving us the wrong data, and he was so patient as anything, and he worked evening and night, and we were both together. We managed to fix the issue, and he was so patient, bless him. And we managed to solve the problem. And if we've ever had any issues, even like any bugs or anything that have popped up, because bugs are going to happen, aren't there? Things happen. Heartbeat have always just jumped on and fixed it. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like things have been fixed. Whereas a lot of time, I know like with Circle, I've got someone who's got a membership there. I am still waiting 3 months later for a bug fixing. And it's like, it's taking forever. And that's not what I want. Because then my client is sat there waiting and I'm sat here waiting. So for me, that's a big, massive thing as well. And you are constantly bringing features out as well, which helps people. And that's just showing people them and telling people about these features. Because the amount of people, companies will bring features out and actually don't tell people about the features. I mean, you just randomly see it, don't you? Like, oh, there's a new feature. But you guys actually tell people about the feature, which is actually really, really good as well. So, yeah, I would always say Heartbeat for that reason as well.
We've only had a couple of people over the years leave and cited that they didn't like the platform. And those were people who both said, like, I can think of 2 of them that said, I would prefer it as a Facebook group. Yeah. I was like, well, we're not for you then. Because I think the thing people like that they tell me regularly is actually when they come to Heartbeat for the halt, they actually are away from other social media, so they're not getting distracted by other stuff. They're there to actually engage and get benefit and have conversations in Heartbeat. And also because it's a separate platform, I think people's mentality changes, because if they're logged onto LinkedIn, they're being LinkedIn version of themselves. If they're logged into Facebook, they're being Facebook version. In Heartbeat, they're just being themselves. When they know when they're coming into the halt that they can just be like relaxed and have a laugh.
It's your space, right?
Yeah.
There's no it's your space. It's the culture that you define for your community. And there's no algorithm in between affecting the rates of communications or other content popping in. And it's undervalued, or underrated how valuable it can be to just have a dedicated space like that.
And it's funny too, because the way that we build community in person, right? Like we create and set up these events, and there is so much thought gone into how are you curating an event experience? What do people see when they walk in? What's on the walls? Is there a lot of sunlight? Is there not a lot of sunlight? What kind of food are we serving? Are the tables over here? Are they clustered, right? Like we think through every single one of these things when we set up in-person experiences and in-person events. And I always found it so strange that we just sacrificed all of that when we built online and said, you know what, we're going to seat up 95% of the experience to a Facebook. And we're just going to hope that they do it in a way that drives our community to the goals that they have, which is kind of crazy, right? If you have control over 5% of what people see and what they experience, it's almost impossible to like build a recognizable and identifiable brand around that. So I think it's both on like your side as a builder, but also like for your members, right? Like they're not going to see or experience anything different from, you know, the Hulk or any other community, whether it's the knitting patterns community, whether it's a pet training community, right? Like it's all going to feel the same. And they don't get that experience change either, which I think is really important for their journey as they go through.
I really love as well, because you can customize Heartbeat so much. So people log in and it's got our brand colors, and every chat channel has a title and a title page with all of our branding, which we can bring our whole brand through the like in the colors and the wording and the micro copy and all of that. Like we can customize everything, which and I love all the things like the really playful stuff. So if people get moved to a group because they've done 30 posts or comments and we're rewarding how active they are, we can have a little pop-up with a picture and a confetti or fireworks. I'm like, that's so me. That's so playful. I wish it could actually like puff real glitter out of their screen. Like maybe put that one on the roadmap, because that would.
Yeah, we'll do a custom like Heartbeat webcam that has a confetti poof built into it. Yeah, there you go.
That I mean, I think everyone would leave. So one of the things that I've done to sort of nurture the community over the years is that I make things for my community. So it's obviously getting hard now with there's so many, but I have done something special for everybody at the Christmas party. But one year I decided to send handwritten Christmas cards to everybody. So I literally hand wrote a branded Christmas card and sent them to, was it like 350 people, something like
Probably
that?
around that time it would have been, yeah. At least 350, I'd say.
I know you got to be close to 500 now, I think.
We're over 500 now, yeah.
Yeah, I checked earlier, she's over 500.
This was not last Christmas, it was the Christmas before. But I put inside every Christmas card very fine pink glitter. And so when they opened it, and it was a lovely handwritten message, and all this glitter fell out on them, they couldn't be mad because it was a really nice thing to do. But their cats were glittering, their dogs were shimmering, their husband was fuming. They took months to get it out of their carpet. And every time they looked at that glitter, they thought of me and smiled.
It is the most durable brand recall you could ever have, is having glitter, because it just does not go away. Wow. Yeah. You know what?
And why do we waste money on retargeting ads? You know, just we gotta get our
send glitter everywhere now.
But you can imagine the amount of posts on LinkedIn of the pictures of the Christmas cards and people fuming / giggling because of the glitter. And it was a great PR stunt, and also just made me laugh because I'm an absolute child with things like that. But I have learned my lesson and I'm not going to do it again, so everyone can relax. There's too many members now. And
there was a collective nervousness among Kermit members right there. Just oh gosh.
It was a terrible carbon footprint, so I did not feel great about that. So I won't be doing that again. But it was fun. I would love to know, like, of the communities you've got, I think you said we're one of the biggest paid communities that are run on Heartbeat, which is really exciting. Like, I don't know, I feel like I need a like little rosette or trophy or something for that. But what do you see of the ones that are big, the ones that have grown really big? What do you see as the key to make those work? Because though, I mean, I know it's hard work running one, it consumes my life, but how do you think those people have got that big, and what do you think they do really right in maintaining it?
So I was just looking in the data more actually before this stream. So big could be measured in two different ways. It could be measured in like total head count, as far as the total number of members you've got, and it could be measured by go-to-market success, revenue success. And so candidly, without spilling anybody's personal finances, you are one of the most successful financially speaking, communities that we have on Heartbeat. And there are communities that have more members but have not made as much money, and there are communities, a couple that have made a little bit more money. And again, it's not directly correlative, size of members and size of money. But regardless, one of the correlations that is very strong is how they brought their solution to market, particularly early on, around the launch of their journey, and the continued amount of presence and iteration that takes place. So specifically, we've noticed that communities that, if you started a free trial today because you have a vision of what you want to do and you have an understanding of a problem, if you monetize, i.e. bring an offer and successfully get either a waitlist sign up with a little paid early bird thing, or actually bring a course out there, or a straight up membership subscription, within your first 30 days, what we see as a trend is that you are likely to continuously increase your monthly revenue month over month perpetually. People who, when they come to market initially with Heartbeat, come with an understanding of their audience, with an understanding of a real solution to a problem, are able to very quickly build, and so not have any barriers with the tech. So you either got Allura or you got the future Pulse AI that we're going to be launching to help you bring that stuff out there quickly. That's one of the earliest indicators. If we try to like predict, is this free trial about to be the next Halt in 5 years? Did they build and go to market and get a validation of payment early in their journey? That's one of the main things we see from go-to-market. And one of the other things is just frankly, an iterative or revisionist tendency, the ability to go in and change the structures of things based on real feedback and what is spent. Because we've all heard the statistic like, oh, 9 out of 10 businesses fail, right? Or only 1 out of 10 businesses succeed. That's true in like the sense of like your standard small and medium business and enterprise motions. But like, what does that mean for solopreneurs? You might have to iterate through 10 versions of your offer before you find the one that really hits the strong fit with your audience. And those are the two factors that I think are really the most indicated. And by the way, I'm speaking of this not just as somebody who's like looked into the data, but I was promoted from customer. So like before I joined the team, like I built my own community of Heartbeat. I was paying my boss a subscription fee to have the platform. And like early on, and it's, early on, like I was like, oh, I have a free trial. I'm going to build everything during the free trial, like milk this sucker, right? Really going to do it. And so I worked from like 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. I like built the thing after my daughter was asleep. And like I did that and I launched with a beta and I had my community, and what it looked like then is nowhere close to what it looks like now. I had a random accountability catch up, and now it's like weekly revenue training because I help people with marketing mentorship and growing their revenue. But it's like, it's the willingness to evolve is so important, and combine that with the ability and willingness to move quickly to that scary first step of, is somebody actually going to pay me for this? And like, it's the most terrifying chasm to cross, but nothing validates an idea like somebody actually raising their hand by opening their wallet. And like, that's the most important thing people need to try.
And it is tricky to get that launch right. And when I see people that don't have a big following and they're like, oh, I want to start a community, can you tell me how you did it? And I'm yeah, I can tell you how I did it. But I already had 150,000 followers on LinkedIn, and right. I already had thousands of clients and thousands of people that trusted me before I launched a community. So yes, I can tell you how I did it, the steps that I took, but the chances of doing what I did and it working the way it did for me is pretty slim. Like, it's very unlikely.
It doesn't just translate from one person to another unless you have all otherwise identical situations.
Right? Yeah, because I'd been on LinkedIn for 3 years, building my network, building the trust, building my reputation on there, and creating webinars that people were buying, creating training and courses that people were buying. So I already had 3 years worth of trust and relationships that I built with people on LinkedIn, creating my community there as an unpaid offer. And then I went, right, well, I'm having kind of like an inner circle where you can have access to me and my learnings, but also all the amazing people that I bring in with me. And that worked really, really well. I was going to say something else just then, and it's just fallen out of my head because my son came into the room next door. And I
feel that in my soul. Like my daughter
flew out of my head. Murtaza, before we've got 5 minutes left, so I'd love to know, like, from you, what do you see as the future in terms of community as a business model? Because I've seen it. It's so popular. Everybody wants to do it, but sort of a year, 3 years down the line, what do you think the reality of it is going to look like? Is it just a big fad that everyone's getting into now? Would it go past, or is it just going to continue to boom? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the funny thing is like, I think we see online communities just like growing as like a trend in general, but the reality is us as human beings have been in communities for the last 10,000 years. Like, we talk about hunter-gatherer tribes all the way to like religions, which are the OG communities, all the way to, the soccer club down the street, the bake sales that you do, the PTA meetings, right? Like, all of those are communities. And really what we're seeing is the shift to how do we interact in person to now how do we interact online, and how do we do that in really like beautifully curated spaces that cater to the interests that we have, the things that we get excited about. And so I think that that trend is only going to continue growing because that is purely human nature, right? Like we are social beings. And what really, really excites me is I actually think we're moving away from these communities that just focus on vanity metrics like, can I get 50,000 people into this, community in the next 6 months? And are shifting more towards, am I bringing in people that play off each other, that actually connect, that have really great conversations, that have really great relationships? And am I doing that in a way where it makes sense for me financially, right? If I'm putting in all this time and energy, if I'm bringing my whole self to this organization, am I getting paid so that like I can pay my bills, like I can pay my healthcare, things like that? And then am I also serving the members that are coming in? And so the way that I kind of look at it is, we jokingly pitch it this way, but like, what if you had a gym membership for everything that you were really interested in? That doesn't mean you're going to have 87 gym memberships going on. That means maybe you'll have 1, 2, 3, right? But if there's things that you're really excited about, it's going to be so much easier to just jump online and find the group of people that get really excited about that and dig in and be able to be a part of that and build relationships around the interests, the hobbies, the career goals that you have, and work towards that. So that's the exciting thing. I think we're moving into a world where like everybody is going to be involved in 1, 2, maybe 3 online communities and get to be really active and be a part of that. And these communities are going to be really genuine and build spaces that get people excited and connected.
I think the connection part of it is really important. Like while the whole is online, we also see a lot of people building real life relationships. So they'll come to one of our in-person co-working days. So we do those in like London and Manchester. We do them down in Exeter now, and we've got one in Edinburgh. So we're sort of starting to do those as we get hubs of people around the UK. So they're actually translating into real life relationships, and then people are going off to do conferences together. 2 of our members were getting together and going sea swimming together and like having a cup of tea in their beach huts and things like that. And I'm like, this is actually translating to real life, genuine relationships now, which is so beautiful. And I think a really important part of being human is, I think COVID, we all went online so much and it was great. We were all working from home. No one had to leave the house. But then it was like, like I'm quite lonely now. And I haven't seen human beings for 3 days. I should probably leave the house and like touch some grass and have a face-to-face conversation. And I think one of the lovely things about like Heartbeat and creating stuff online is actually, for the whole, we focus much more on people finding things that are in common to build the foundations of a relationship on. So with everything we do, we bring a sense of fun, because when people connect on things that they laugh about or things that they have in common, we do like weekly community questions where we ask like a ridiculous question that gets people answering and bringing a little tidbit of who they are to it, and people going, oh my God, I've done that as well, or that's amazing, how did you do that? And it celebrates our weirdness but also connects us over it. And I think having an online community, I always think like one of the goals should be, how do I also try and encourage people to go out and do things in person when we've got people in similar locations? And is there a way to do that? We let members like start up their own co-working days, and then we support that and help them to create that, because I think that's the only thing that I worry about with communities is there's so much online now that we're almost overly online. And I wonder, a lot of people, I say, if you're going to build a community, you need to make sure that it's something that's worth spending more time on your phone for, because we all spend too much time on our phone. But the thing that I meant to say as well is the lack of algorithms in communities, I think, is really, really important, because we are all exhausted to try and battle for visibility on all of the, I need to create something for Instagram and it's got to be different for LinkedIn, and then different again for Facebook. Then I need a text version. Now it needs to go on YouTube, and I need to create a newsletter and a Substack. And you're like, oh my God, I'm one human being. But when you have a community where you're making friends based and creating connections based on mutual interests and commonalities, and you're not fighting against those algorithms, you don't have to create the perfect post to get attention and build relationships. You can just show up as you are, and it doesn't have to be like thought out or run through AI or anything like that. It doesn't matter if you spell something wrong. You don't need a pretty selfie to go with it. And I think that's something that more people are craving. I think we are sick and tired of battling with, you know, Zuckerberg and Meta, like everything Meta or everything Microsoft, and you're like, oh my God, I just want to have conversations with nice people.
Just real people.
Yeah.
Us little people.
Because how many times do you log onto your Instagram and see absolutely no one you know, and it's just a whole load of adverts again, and you're just like, my God. I love that there's no adverts inside Heartbeat. Please never bring in adverts.
There's never going to be ads inside a Heartbeat. That's like something we've been very, very clear on from day one. And the funny thing is like you mentioned like this, change of like we're spending so much time online. And I think the funny thing that I look at is like it's more of the internet just kind of got worse over the last 10 years, right? It feels so hollow. Like I remember right in the early 2000s, you would jump online and it was this weird wild west of places. But it's like, look, I grew up as like a Muslim kid in the deep South in the US. All my friends were online growing up. And so this was like, I loved jumping online, and I would like run home and I'd jump on my computer and I'd like have these conversations with people in online games and things like that. And I find that like, I think for so many people, like even being like fully online is like totally happy as long as it's a genuine place, right? Like that's what we keep getting at, is like that authenticity has to be there. And of course, like there's gonna be a lot more people that want more in-person stuff. They want to be at events. They want to like see people in the eye, right? We want to see how tall everyone is. And there's definitely like more tech coming from Heartbeat to help support that. But I think as long as you can bring authenticity, regardless of what form it is, digital or in person, like you're going to be able to create something really magical.
Guys, this has been such a lovely chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you getting up so early to accommodate our time zones. I've seen we've had over 200 people on the live at one point. So like, brilliant. Thank you so much. And
he's going to go have a nap now.
Yeah, you can go back to it now. You can go back.
It's totally, honestly, it's our pleasure and honestly privilege. Just
and
so,
sorry
so
for all
grateful.
the watchers that got a bit stuck because we had tech problems. That's my fault. Please don't blame Heartbeat. That was me. So throw your ire at my way, and I've got strong shoulders. I can take it. Thanks so much, guys, and thank you, Laura, as well. I'll be pestering you in WhatsApp later, and I'll look forward to speaking to you again, hopefully soon.
Awesome. Thank you for having us. Take care.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Oh, I'm sorry.